All right, so we are going to now finish the presentation and we're going to go into our prices. So I'm going to go over to my slides tab, right? And I have a few different presentations. The one that I'm going to use, it starts where we had left off earlier. And I am going, and we're going to walk through this a few more times over the course of the training. The next thing that we're going to work on in a little bit, either the next lesson or the lesson after, is going to be everyone's going to copy over the presentation, right? So I'm going to open deck and present. When I do that, and like I said, we're going to go through this a few more times, so like you don't need to worry if you get a little lost. But you are going to notice that there's a couple different options, right? So if I'm doing the presentation in person, I would have a printed version of the notes, and I would just press start presenting, right? So I would just use my computer or my tablet to show them the slides, and I would use my notes. If I was doing the virtual appointment, I would send my customer this live link and I would do open speaker view, right? So I would open the speaker view, and my customer, what they would see with that live view is they would see something similar to this, right? They would see just this slide, and they wouldn't see the arrow to the next slide because they wouldn't be logged in. So because I'm logged in, I have access to control the slides on this one. They wouldn't have access to the slides, right? And I would be on my speaker notes on the live view, right? And my customer, right, would just see this slide. I would see the slide they're on, the next slide, and my speaker notes, right? And the last slide that we went through earlier was we went through the slide where we showed them the sets, right? So like the last set we explained was the complete set. So I'm going to finish going through the next slides and go introducing the prices, right? So, Ms. Jones, let me review why so many people choose to invest in Cutco. You'll always have sharp, American made knives that are comfortable, safe, and sanitary. And Cutco's guaranteed to last forever. So, be the last set of knives you'd ever buy. And Cutco actually saves a lot of money. Most customers who buy Cutco eat out less. And if that just saves you $60 a month, you'll save $720 this year. And over the next 25 years, you will save $18,000. And there's several reasons why so many customers choose sets. Cutco sets have the right tool for the right job. Cutco sets have a built-in discount, so they're cheaper. Sets are much safer because they come in a block or a tray. And sets also come with a free cutting board and other free stuff. And we also have an interest-free monthly investment option, so you don't have to pay for it all at once. It just charges a debit or a credit card one-fifth the cost for 5 months, and it makes it way more manageable. It's what everyone does, right? And now you'll notice that the customer's looking at that slide that has the price comparison that we went through earlier, right? And Ms. Jones, I'm sure you'd agree you wouldn't compare Cutco to a cheap set of knives sold at a local bargain store for like a few $100s, but also you wouldn't compare it to a luxury set with sterling silver handles costing over $7,000, right? And when it comes to high quality cutlery, it's like anything else. There's a wide variety of quality and prices, and Cutco is top rated, so we only compare to the highest quality brands. Now, I have a price comparison for some of our top competitors, Wusthof and Shun, right? Wusthof and Shun. And these are high quality sets made overseas, and they're two of the top selling brands in store. And each brand has different types of sets, which range in price, but these are their sets which are comparable to our basic set, or to Cutco's basic set. And if I didn't know about Cutco and I want to get a good set of knives, I would probably get Wusthof Icon Blackwood, right? And I'm going to actually change it to the default view real quick so that you can kind of, right? So this is what they see, right? So Wusthof Icon Blackwood is what I would get. And as you can see, the price of this Wusthof set is $3,435. Usually you can find it on sale for $2,199.95. And even for that type of money, it is well worth it. But there are some major differences between these brands and Cutco. So they have typical handles, while we have our comfort wedge lock. They have serrated edges, while we have our unique double D edge. They use 420A steel in comparison to our 440A high carbon surgical grade stainless steel, which stays sharp longer and is dishwasher safe. They're made overseas, while we're American made. And their products have a limited warranty against manufactured defect, and every product that we make is guaranteed forever. Now, based on the guarantee alone, I'm sure to agree Cutco's at least twice as good. When a product offers twice the quality and value and lasts forever, it should cost twice the price. And at twice the price, you're talking over $4,000 for a basic set of Cutco. So this is something everyone off of the notes real quick. One thing I want you to write down is that it costs 2 times as much to manufacture Cutco, right? So between the research, design, and development that we put into our edge and handle, right? Between the fact that the way that we make our edge is granite wheels with crushed diamonds, is the way that we have to the way that we have to manufacture our edge. Between the highest grade steel, between the thermal resin, between the nickel silver alloy, between manufacturing in the United States and the guarantee, it costs 2 times as much to manufacture Cutco, right? And we have three main kitchen sets, right? So we have our complete set, which is 30 pieces, right? In comparison to that 20-piece set, right? So it's one piece away from being double the size. We have our basics or a signature set, which is 1.5 times the size of this set, right? That is $2,199.95, right? And so it's 1.5 times the size. It costs 2 times as much to manufacture. But I want everyone to think for a second. So our basic set is 22 pieces, right? So it is 2 pieces larger than this set, right? It's 2 pieces larger than that 20-piece set, and it costs 2 times as much to manufacture than the set that is 2 pieces smaller and costs $2,199.95. So real quick, I want you to think about that, and I want you to think, how much should the basic set cost, right? So if it's two pieces larger, it costs 2 times as much to manufacture. I want you to think in your head and pick a price point for what it should cost. And then what I want you to realize is the best thing about these sets is that none of them are that much. None of them are $4,000 or $4,000. In fact, none of them even cost as much as Wusthoff's suggested price of $3,435. So our complete set, which is great for people who love to cook or entertain, is 2 times the size of that Wusthoff set, and it's only $29.29 paid in full. But everyone just puts on the 5 pay, which is just $628 a month for 5 months, and that includes tax. The signature set, which is our family option, right? It's our most popular family set. It's our most popular option. It's great for people who like to cook, and even though it's 1.5 times the size of their set, it's only $21.33 paid in full, which is just $458 on the 5 pay. That's like a cell phone bill for a family of 5. If you're on Verizon Unlimited, it's like an extra cell phone bill for 5 months, and they would never buy knives again, right? And our basic set, which is great for people who have to cook, is 2 pieces larger, a couple pieces larger than that Wusthoff set, but it's almost half of their sale price. It's only $14.19 paid in full, which is just $306 on the 5 pay, right? So $306 is a grocery bill for a family of 4, right? It is a grocery bill, an extra grocery bill for 5 months, and they would never buy knives again. We actually have a buy now bonus where I can throw in some free stuff if you were to get one of these sets today. So if you were to get our basic set, I could throw in the super shears for free. And since our 2 larger sets include the shears, I could, if you were to get our signature set, I could throw in either the kitchen tools or the entertainer pack for free. So that the kitchen tools are awesome. They're a bunch of like the little tools that they would have on their counter, and it comes with a little block. And the entertainer pack is an ice cream scoop, a veggie peeler, pizza cutter, or a soft grip cheese knife, right? And if you were to get our complete set, I would be able to throw in both the kitchen tools and the entertainer pack for free, right? And one thing that I want everyone to understand is that if you were paying attention, I'm sure you picked a higher number when I told you to think of a price point, right? And the reason is because I built value, right? I built value because I helped you really understand the quality of the product, right? And when someone understands the quality of Cutco, it makes it a no-brainer, right? And the way there's 3 things that I did to build value, right? Obviously, we did some videos and stuff, but realistically, I didn't tell you the price until the end when you fully understood the quality and value is at its highest point, right? We had fun. I joked around a few times, that type of stuff. Hopefully, it was not the most boring thing that's happened to you today. And then the last thing is I followed the manual, right? I followed the script. If you notice, I was just reading. And also, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm reading a script while I go through training, right? Because of course I am. Otherwise, I would be so inconsistent. We would get so derailed, right? And one thing that I want to make sure that everyone understands is, why do we cost less, right? Why do we cost less, even though it costs more to manufacture, right? And the reason is because we don't sell in stores, right? Because if we were sold in stores and it costs 2 times as much to manufacture, then it would cost 2 times as much for the customer to purchase Cutco, right? Because when you're buying something from a store, you're paying for the middleman, right? You're paying for how it gets to you, right? So, for example, Wusthof is made in Germany, right? Who sells it to a distributor, who sells it to Williams Sonoma or the retailer, who sells it to a customer, right? And meanwhile, they're shipping and marketing and warehousing on top of overhead and then profit from one of those stops to the next. So it's marked up, right? And the reason that we sell direct is because let's say you do a presentation, right? You do a presentation for a customer, right? Tomorrow or whenever you finish training, right? And they're like, yeah, 306 for 5 months. I would get the basic set. I could get super shears, never need to buy another knife. Let's do it, right? You would enter that order and it would get shipped straight from the factory to that customer, right? Which would cut out those middlemen, and it allows us to put more money into our products and into our representatives while making a super high quality product, but keeping the prices super competitive, right? And so yeah, Cutco isn't cheap, right? Like it definitely isn't. It definitely is an investment, but that's how we offer such an like amazing amount of value, right? Like so, if we were sold in stores, it either would cost 2 times as much, or we wouldn't have the unique handles, right? Or use the materials, or have a unique edge. We definitely would not be made in upstate New York, and there's a 0% chance that we would have the guarantee. And at that point, we wouldn't be Cutco, right? So the reason that we sell direct is because that's the way that we would be able to offer our product at a very competitive price and lower price point than our competition, even though it costs so much more to manufacture, right? But I said earlier, these are, or hopefully I said, these are our three largest sets, right? We also have other options, right? So one thing that one of the reasons I chose slides.com is because if you notice, there's a down option, right? So if you notice, if I press down, those are the smaller knife sets, right? If I go to the next thing, that goes to flatware and cookware and other stuff, and it skips over those, right? So the reason it's designed like this is, let's say I did a presentation. One of my customers wants to get one of these three sets. I wouldn't want like waste their time showing them all the smaller options. I would go to flatware and cookware and the other stuff that we have. If let's say I'm doing a presentation and my customer's like, I don't know if I need that large of a set or it's a little out of my budget, then I would drop down, right? So just to go through it real quick, I'll just go show you a few of our other options and then wrap this up. But we also have a galley set, right? So the galley set is the perfect starter set and will take care of all your daily needs. So it still has the paring knife for the air, the trimmer for the small stuff, a spatula for sandwiches, serving piece, a meat knife, a veggie chopper, and the slicer, right? So it's a few less knives for a lot less money. And instead of paying $14.19 for the basic set, the galley set with 6 table knives is only $221 on the 5, or is only $10.24 in full, which is just $221 on the 5 pay. And we also have a basic galley set. It comes with everything that the other galley set comes with, except for no table knives. And that one is only $789 in full, which is just $171 on the 5 pay. And we could throw in either super shears or a cheese knife for free with either of these options. So just to hit on this, and Sean's going to go through it more later, but the galley set is everything that the basic set, the homemaker set has, except for it's 2 less table knives, and it cuts out 3 tools, right? And the 3 tools that it cuts out are the carving set, so the large carving knife and carving fork, and the butcher knife or the guardian knife, right? So those are pieces that people aren't going to use all of the time. It has all the stuff that they would use, and we could get it down to $221 or $171 on the 5 pay, and throw in shears or a cheese knife for free. It's a great option, right? But we also have other starter sets, right? Which are great for building up over time and gifts for family and friends. So we have our Essentials +5 and our Studio +4, which are basic sets in smaller blocks, but they get the job done, right? We have our Space Saver set, which is great for smaller kitchens, boats, campers, and RVs, since it can hang on the wall, sit on the counter, slide in a drawer. We have our All Knife and our kitchenette sets, which come in our safe storage tray and are great alternatives to sets and blocks. And then lastly, we have our Gourmet set, which includes our specialty knives and is great for people who own Cutco already or cook a lot of alternative cuisine, you're going to notice all of these options are under 200 on a 5 pay, right? All the way down to the kitchenette set is literally just 103 on a 5 pay, right? And we could throw in either super shears or a cheese knife for free, right? For a homeowner, like that is not breaking anyone's bank account, right? We also have the opportunity to specialize for them, customize their own set, right? And pick out pieces and us to still get them a deal. So we genuinely have an option for every person, right? We genuinely have an option for every single person. So I said it earlier. I want to just like clarify, if you do not own a home, you're in a different market than your customer, right? Like you're in a very different market than your customer if you do not own a home, right? And some of the stuff you buy, your parents probably think is crazy. Some of the stuff they buy, you might think that they are crazy. But one of the things, and I'm going to wrap this section up in a second. One of the things that I realized when I started giving this talk and I put some thought into what is something I've spent money on or accumulated over the course of my life is I realized over the course of my life, between my new Xbox, the Xbox that I had before that, the 360, the PS2, the GameCube and Sega Genesis and Nintendo 64 and the Wii and the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy DS and the Game Boy Advance, over the course of my life, I probably accumulated like $15,000 to $20,000 of video games, right? And there are a lot of young people probably accumulated $10,000 plus of video games. And it took me until I started giving this talk and I started really thinking about it. It took me to actually think of that, right? Because I didn't realize, and there's three main reasons that I never realized the price point or the price that was going into video games over the course of my life, right? One of them is it wasn't all at once, right? It was a few hundred here, a few hundred there, instead of thousands at a time, right? So the 5 pay, right, makes it a little bit easier to digest, right? The second is I saw the value, right? I was using them, right? Like I liked them. It felt like it made sense, right? Like I was using it enough. If someone is cooking on a daily basis, right, and invest in their kitchen, the tools that they're using that's on display, the centerpiece of their kitchen, right? That person sees it differently than someone who doesn't, right? And I would say the biggest reason that I never realized how much money was being accumulated in video games is because I wasn't the one that spent the majority of that money, right? The majority of that money was spent by my parents. And I want everyone to think about this. Did my parents even like those video games? A lot of them they disliked, right? It is wild to think and reflect on the stuff that I was doing in Grand Theft Auto as like a 12-year-old, right? There were games I had that my parents actively disliked, and they still spent tens of thousands of dollars on something that they disliked to shut me up, right? Literally just to shut me up. And don't get me wrong, it probably was a great investment, right? Because one, I would stop complaining, and two, so that when they needed a little bit of time to themselves, they could put me in front of a TV, right? And I would be able to entertain myself so that they could get a break, right? And that's tens of thousands of dollars on something that they disliked to shut me up. That, right? Like, so those are the people that are buying Cutco, right? And what I want you to understand is a few $100s for a few months is not that big of a deal for something that they would buy once, they would use every day, they would never replace it, pass on their kids one day if they see the value in it, right? And to wrap this up, I have two kind of funny stories for you, right? So I like telling one story about my first summer. It was like a breakthrough, and then one story from my second summer, and then we're gonna wrap up this section. And so my first summer, I was not great at looking at things through my customer's perspective, right? It took me almost like a month to sell a homemaker set, to sell my first basic set at this one, because I was looking at things through my perspective. I was thinking through my financial position, and about a month in, I went to Pennsylvania to do a demo for my Aunt Billy because we didn't have virtual demos. So I had to figure out a time I was going to drive like 3.5 hours. And if you remember on the one of the first videos, we talked about the 10-80-10 rule, right? We talked about it from the perspective of results at first. So we said like 10% of the time your results are below average, 10% of the time above average, 80% of the time in line. Well, that rule translates to a lot of different areas, and one of them is customers, right? So 10% of people on the low end are non-buyers, right? So it might be just the wrong person, right? It might be your single uncle who's like super nag and like doesn't cook, right? Like there's no point in doing that presentation, especially your first week. Or it might be someone who just had a situation happen in their life where they're just not in a financial position to be able to buy, right? That's 10% of the time, right? 80% of people, it depends on what they hear and see that is going to determine if a sale is made, right? But on the opposite spectrum, 10% of people are buyers, right? It's not a question of if those people are going to buy, it's a question of what they're going to buy, right? And for me, that was my Aunt Billy, right? She had a beautiful home, cooked all of the time, like, had nice stuff. Like I knew it was going to be a good demo. And I said to myself, I'm going to sell a signature set. Like I like actually like said that on my way there. And one thing that I've learned is your customer is a reflection of you, right? Like if you don't believe in something, they're never going to. But the funny thing is, because I believed, I sold my first signature set, right? So I get to the end of the demo, and she's like, I'm going to get a signature set. I'm going to get a cleaver. I'm going to get some pots and pans. She's like, but I don't have to do the 5 pay, right? Like if I want to, I could just pay for it in full. And I did what you should never do in sales, which is I was like, are you sure? Right? Like I was like shocked and I questioned her. And my aunt looks at me in a way where it's like, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, where like someone's going to teach you something, right? She looks at me and she's like, Owen, one of the things that you need to understand if you're going to be successful in sales, it could be with Cutco, it could be with another product, but one of the things that you're going to need to wrap your head around is that the majority of the moms you're going to sit down with have a bag that costs more than this, right? And I would say that was a wake up call, right? Thinking about a Louis Vuitton or Gucci bag could be a few grand, it could be 10 grand, right? And obviously, like if you see the value in bags, that's like this isn't me trying to trash you. Like if you see the value and you can afford it, like go buy it, like you know what I mean, and enjoy it. But that's something that you use on a special occasion when it matches your outfit, right? Not the tool that you're using every single day in your kitchen that's on display in the centerpiece of your kitchen, the centerpiece of your home, right? And that was a big realization for me, right? So a lot of the people I was sitting down with had some of them multiple bags that cost more than our largest set, right? So they had a different financial reality than I did. And when I wrapped my head around that and started talking to my customers on their level, that's when I had a breakthrough as a rep, right? The other story I have is my second summer. I'm at like $40,000, $50,000. I was a way better rep. And I was sitting down with somebody who was like, I had no connection with a referral of a referral of a referral of a referral, right? And I was a way better rep at this point. And I get to the end of the demo and I'm like, these are 3 sets. Which one do you like the most? And this woman, it was like 40-year-old woman who said something that shocked me. And she goes, Owen, I really like the signature set, but I'm grounded right now. Right. And I was like, what? Like, I'm shocked. Right. And I'm like, what do you mean you're grounded? She's like, I've been doing too much online shopping. My husband took away my credit card. Right. And I was like, that's disgusting. Right. Like, how's that possible? Like, why would someone take away your credit card? But I'm also quick on my feet. Right. So she's like, my husband took away my credit card. And I was like, but Ms. Jones, don't you know your credit card number? Right. Because I want everyone, I don't know if you guys had a credit card in 2012. This was back in 2012. But it didn't save. So every time you bought something, you had to type it in. And I knew my credit card number and I wasn't grounded for online shopping. Right. So I'm pretty quick. So I'm like, don't you know your credit card number? And just as fast as I said that, she looks at me and she goes, you know what? You're right. I'll put on the 5 pay. And if my husband asks me what it is, I'll tell him we switched gas companies to Cutco. Right. And I was like, oh, now I know why this woman is dangerous. Right. Now I know why she is grounded. Right. And what I want everyone to realize is he never even caught it on the bill. Right. Because for a homeowner with homeowner expenses, a few $100s for a few months gets lost on the bill, especially if it's something that someone is going to buy once, they would use every day. They would never replace it, pass it to their kids one day. Right. So, yes, Cutco is not cheap, but the amount of value that our products offer, the quality of Cutco is so high. Right. And then we have so many different options, and being able to break it up and then being able to try it and make sure they love it for 3 weeks before they're committed to it. Right. It is an awesome product. And if you have confidence, so will your customers.